common themes of the show. We can't say any words that are any names.
Yeah.
Terrible at it.
Pronunciations.
Yes. Can't even say the word pronunciation. And we have no answers.
No.
We make it worse because we can more confuse it.
Worse.
We made it worse.
There are so many options.
We just keep
confuse ourselves even further.
And we keep up perpetuating the theories.
Yeah, yeah.
By offering no clues on the answers.
That's good. Perpetuate. I like it. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Mysterious Pals. My name is Chris, and with me today,
What you got?
on our main event, you pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge. Because the heavyweight champion of the world, Joey Joe Jana,
look at that. Joey Joe Jana
is here. His dad calls him the little slobber knocker, but you call him Jordan.
Schlobberknocker.
Thank you for being here, Jordan.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
You ready for another mystery?
Let's do it.
I'm ready too. What have you been doing this week?
It's a mystery, man. No, what have I been doing? A lot of nothing. Well,
normal human stuff.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you.
Oh, you know, I watched what was it called? The Fall of the House of Usher.
I have no idea what that is.
Did you ever watch the Haunting of Hill House?
Yes, it was. It was rough.
As in
The Haunting of Hill House, the one on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was rough.
What do you mean rough?
Because to do with the death of a daughter and like
course.
there's
Yeah,
a family like
yeah.
that. That's just. I mean, that whole thing was rough. I mean, it was amazingly made, good story.
Yes.
I never watched The Bly Manor.
Okay, that one was fine. They did another one, Midnight Mass. I think
That was awesome.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I didn't like how they showed the thing, the monster. I hate when they do that stuff. But
this one's really good. I put it up there with the first one, Haunting Hill House.
okay, so it's actually one of those.
Yeah, it's made by the same people. They use a lot of the same actors and actresses. It's about a family, a brother and sister who own like this drug corporation, and how they're trying to keep it afloat. Not keep it afloat, but like
It's real hard to do. A drug corporation.
Keep it going. But there's a lot of like supernatural stuff that go on, just like in all these other shows. Watched that and finished that like pretty quickly. It's really, really good.
Okay, Fall of House of Usher.
Fall of the House of Usher, yeah. So you use a lot of the same cast. There's some new people like Mark Hamill's in it. It's good, man.
It's a little spooky.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Like, you know, because the first one like deals with ghosts.
Yeah, and like the house and everything. Again,
yeah.
tough.
I think Bly Manor did the ghost thing too. I really can't remember.
I didn't watch Bly Manor. I know there's kids in it.
Yeah, the third one did a vampire.
It did?
Wasn't it a vampire?
Oh yeah,
The Midnight Mass one.
Yeah, it was like yes.
Is that called Midnight Mass?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, this one deals with a demon or death itself.
Okay.
And about this family falling from past mistakes. A deal they made. It's really good.
Okay.
It's good. Check it out.
Seems like I said, not Bly Manor. The Hill House was good.
This one's rough too. There's a lot of similar things like that, but
great.
It's good.
You know, these days, getting older.
Yeah, but now these days you gotta go big. Set yourself apart.
I just started watching Dirckx again, which is one of my favorite shows ever.
You need to finish the second season of that. I also need to watch the one that takes place on the ship in the sea.
1899, which they canceled. 1899. Gigantic cliffhanger at the end.
Of course.
And you're just like, that's awesome.
Did they end Dirckx appropriately?
The third season of Dirckx, right?
They only did 2, right?
3.
Or they did 3?
Yeah, the third season. Yeah, they kind of mash everything up together. The third season is a little confusing and not the greatest. I think it's one of the lower, but the way they end it is good. The way they wrap it all together, you're like, oh my God, that's perfect.
Okay.
They wrap it all together good because it's, you know, who knows everyone watched it, Dirckx on Netflix.
Cyclical.
It's a time traveling thing done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good. One of my favorite shows. I watch it like once a year. It's just a great show. It's in German. I know someone.
Did you watch it with the subtitles on, or did you watch it with the dub?
Dub, because I'm too lazy.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, but like the dubbing just took me out of it.
I was fine with it.
So it is
I think the thing
which I don't
is,
mind.
yeah, I think someone actually was texting me about it once, and this person was like, "Hey, this show's amazing. You know, I'm so glad you told me to talk about it." She's like, "I just get so annoyed when I have to read everything." I'm like, "Yeah, it's dubbed." She's like, "What?" She's like, "What's that mean?" I'm like, "They put English voices in it." She had no clue. So she went back, and I was like, "Click on the little gear thing at the bottom," and she's like, "Oh my god!" She watched like half the series with it.
Oh,
so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hey, man." It's tough out there.
Yeah.
Tough. Netflix is tough.
Struggle is real.
Yeah. There's also a show on Netflix called OA, which I've been thinking a lot recently, which I watched a while. Like
I remember.
It's OA stands for the original Angel.
Yeah. I remember seeing that on
It's
there.
2 seasons. It's kind of corny, especially the ending. But like, for some reason, I've been thinking about it because the way they put it all together is really strange.
Okay.
I don't know. Again, watch Dark. Everybody who's listening to this, anyone who's listening to this. And then watch 1899 and be so angry that they canceled it. They canceled because it cost too much money. It was too expensive.
But, all right.
I mean, it was...
Don't they have like billions of dollars?
Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I guess they don't really share a lot.
They got to make this terrible movie with Will Smith that's stupid as hell. They got to make another dumbass movie about something dumb too. Just throw money at people and they're like, oh, the good stuff we got to take off. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's business. Yeah. But again, I'm hoping someone they do something with 1899. Those people, I haven't really checked in with those people what they were doing because I was waiting so long for 1899 to come along.
Right.
Because it was a couple years with the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
But
also with the fall of House of Usher, there's a lot of Edgar Allan Poe references to like a lot of his own like.
With the Raven guy.
Yep.
That's all I really know about him.
Yep.
What's he do?
They do a whole thing with the Raven on that too. It's all like macabre, like. Like
I'll tell you
and stuff like that.
I know in the last episode we talked about literary stuff that I have no idea what the hell's going on. I can tell you how an engine works. I can tell you how build a house, whatever. I can tell you how to do plumbing. I can do all that stuff.
Right.
When you talking about the academic bull crap, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
And you're a teacher.
I am a doctor. But
also those who are watching. This is a shout out. If you've watched or listened to this before, there's a song intro.
Yes.
This is the band.
I forgot to mention it in the last episode.
Yeah. So there you go. Shout out to Death.
Camera's not there, remember?
Right. I'm wearing a shirt, a Death Lamb shirt.
Yeah, for those who are listening at home.
Sorry.
Death Lamb shirt. What were they saying?
$18.99 budget.
I don't know. I wish I had money to just throw it to people and be like, make the end of the show. Because it's so good. It takes place on a ship in Victorian times and a ship into the 1800s. And it does the dark stuff.
What's the premise?
It's these guys on the ship going from England to America.
Okay.
And it's like kind of like you find out stories about some are running from something they did and then it's more than what it is.
A lot of times.
It goes like layers deep, which is what's awesome.
Okay.
Really smartly written in the way that
does this involve time travel like Dark did?
Yes and no. Like it's more than just Dark's time. It's not just that again. But Dark is amazing. It's one of my favorite shows. I think it's really awesome.
All right.
You should finish Dark. Is really what happens.
I need to start it over.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just did that. Someone had mentioned to me before, like, you guys should just talk about shows you watch and not talk about all this history bullcrap.
At least we could pronounce
thanks, Mom.
pronounce the names of these.
No, we can't.
Well, there's some of the shows, yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right, maybe.
Yeah. I always want to watch, like, I always want to go to a different country, and we are so far off topic. I always want to go to a different country and, like, watch TV in that country. You've done this.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
And like just see like what is popular in that country.
Yeah.
Like what do they watch? What is like what is the friends of India or China or like, obviously in different parts of the world there's different thoughts on.
I did see in a lot of places like
sitcoms.
There's shows that like are made in the US, they're famous in the US, but they just do subtitles.
Yeah. I've started about that too. Like one of the most biggest shows at one point in time in I guess China or something. I could be totally wrong. Was like Big Bang Theory was super popular.
Okay,
there.
I did see a lot of Friends when I was over there.
Yeah, like Friends apparently was insanely popular.
Yep.
So we're gonna talk about a folk legend. And some people may know what this is, especially if they saw the Shrek movie. I think the fourth Shrek movie, Shrek Ever After, I want to say his name of it.
All right.
And if they saw that they probably don't, some kids don't know what this folk hero, the enemy of that show came from, or that movie.
Oh, he was in the enemy in one of these Shrek movies.
The fourth one.
Maybe I didn't see all of them.
He was one of the antagonists.
All right.
Yeah. It has to do with time travel. He's the one that's doing time travel. I think it's time travel. I believe it's like different alternate history. It's Shrek. I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. Donkey. Whatever. It's all.
It's
all
donkey,
good.
There's an ogre.
Yeah.
Fairy tale stuff.
It originated. It's a folk. We probably have heard the folk here. You've probably heard of this. It originated in the town of Hamlin, which is in Germany, Lower Saxony, Germany.
Okay.
This is where this area is. This town, and it's been retold and told for centuries.
Germany. Okay.
Again, taking place in traced back. Now it's gotten bigger, and I know I'm keep on stalling on what this is actually going to be.
The build up. It's all about the build up.
The build up. Yes, that's what they call it. 1284. The town of Hamlin was plagued by a terrible infestation of rats. These rats were causing widespread destruction, devouring food supplies, and spreading disease, as you can remember.
Yeah.
The Black Plague was.
Black Death, bubonic plague.
Bubonic plague? Was it the Black Death?
Yeah. It's either Black Death or bubonic plague.
And that was caused by
A lot of people say rats.
But it was the fleas feeding off, or fleas riding the rats over to that. And there's a thing on Disney Plus, a little short.
Is it like one of those Pixar shorts about the Black Death?
It's the rats from Ratatouille talking about the Black Death, actually.
Really?
And they say that actually it wasn't our fault. Yeah, they're like, it wasn't our fault,
Really?
dog. It was these fleas. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like a 2-minute short.
Okay.
And they're like, swear, it wasn't us. The thing about this, the thing that makes me so angry about the stupid shorts is they're like 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
But the credits are like 8 minutes long.
Oh, so with all the Disney stuff.
But a short that's 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I mean, it takes a lot of people. It's mostly the animators, right?
I think it's because in different languages.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
So it really wasn't. It was the fleas. Anyway, these rats were destroying the city. Townspeople were tried various methods to rid themselves of the rats, including traps, poison, but nothing seemed to work. Apparently, they didn't have a baseball bat. Whatever. Yeah. Or like a sword.
They didn't find the Rat King.
Or like they just can't go just start slicing stuff. Like what are you like? Ew, there's a rat. Like just start murdering. Like just everybody was killing rats.
I'd imagine people at that time were fine with murdering rats.
Right. I mean, it's 1282, 84.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
It's like
if grab a pitchfork.
The Huns or like one of the Okay. So they were desperate for a solution. So they agreed to hire a mysterious piper who kind of wandered into town. Some would say a Pied Piper. Specifically, in this case, the Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Okay.
That's what the name of this is. But what we're going to be talking about is what happened to the children of Hamlin, Germany.
Okay. Is a Pied Piper considered like historically an actual person that came to this town?
I guess we're going to find out.
All right.
Supposedly, the Pied Piper was a person. It was something. It was an incident in this type. It could have been a person. There's a lot of theories. I think I have 9 different theories. Again, because it's from 1284, so a lot of literary stuff's gone on about this junk. Anyway.
This junk.
So the piper was dressed in a colorful, multicolored or pied garb.
How's that what pied means?
That's what that's
I never knew that.
Pied. I just figured it was like he just had pie all over him. It's weird. They said the Pied Piper was coming, so I threw pie all over me and it didn't work. I don't know. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I guess pied multicolored clothing. Okay. And claimed to have the ability to rid the town of the rat problem. So this guy comes in. Sounds a little fishy right there. Me, I'd be like, oh, where'd this guy come from? First off, who's this weirdo? Why is he wearing Montez?
Yeah, why does he want our kids?
Well, he doesn't want our kids yet.
Yeah.
He wants to kill the rats. He wants to get rid of the rats. So everybody's like,
I would imagine like if this guy's like, hey, I can get rid of these rats, he's the one who might have caused the rats to be there.
Yeah, like where's that box of rats you have over the hill there?
Yeah, I'm giving you I gave you this problem, but I'm here to solve it.
Right. So
for the right price.
That's actually one of the things that comes up about this. So the townspeople promised to pay him a handsome fee. Like they agreed on a price, and he's like, okay, fine. Which again, red flag. We don't know this guy.
Yeah.
It's Germany, 1200s. I mean, if people are traveling, they're traveling by horse. They're not really traveling, just walking around. And especially in this part of Germany, it may have been. What was going on in 1200s? Was it really even Germany at that point?
Yes. Yes. It was.
And was it called Germany or was it called something else? Because it was the Holy Roman Empire at one point.
Yeah, right. It, like parts of Germany, parts of modern day Germany were part of the Holy Roman Empire, but also might have been, depending on the time, not part of the Holy Roman Empire.
What was it? What was the thing the Visigoths made? What was that called?
The Visigoths made?
Yeah,
like a wall.
No. When we talked about in the King Alaric, what was that kingdom they went off and made? Was that France? France.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they're Gothic, so yeah, part of that seeped into France and part of that seeped into Germany.
Okay.
There's like a lineage that goes back to like the Goths and some of those other considered barbarian tribes. Yeah.
Okay. So this part of Germany, which it seems to be Germany at this point, or Germany, a part of Germany. Not
to interrupt, but like it seems, although to be fair, like it seems like these people had been doing what they could have done to get rid of these rats. So like maybe they were desperate to like trust this random character who just came along.
Right.
It's silly as he may look.
If you're killing rats, you're also spreading disease probably too.
Yeah.
And especially if the water, like if the rats get into our water.
Yeah. I'm assuming a lot of these people are farmers. That's like their soul.
Yeah. So this guy comes in, multicolored clothing or pied clothing. He accepted the offer, and he accepted an offer to do this deed for the town where he's going to get rid of the rats. And he plays a magical tune on his pipe, which had the power to mesmerize and enchant both rats and humans alike. This is the story. This is not the historical part.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. As he played, the rats followed him in procession. They were entranced by the music. With the rats gone, it was time to pay the piper.
Nice.
For those at home. Finger guns.
Call back to the finger guns.
Yeah. However, the town only offered him a small sum compared to what they originally promised. So they promised him a lot. They offered him a little after the deed was done because they're like, what are you going to do about it? Look at you. You're one guy, we're a whole town.
What was this? Again, I know we keep doing callbacks, but then we kind of the same thing happened with King Alaric. Like he was promised several times.
So you're saying it's like a German thing?
No, not necessarily, but I'm saying there's a theme here. Like, wasn't he promised money multiple times? And
they kept on using him.
Yeah,
but this time they only promised him once, and he was like,
but still,
he didn't stand for it. Right. They don't ever say where he came from, but that goes into the theories.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is real, maybe he said, I'm from this town. What would have been the big cities? Do you have any idea geographically during that time? Was Berlin a thing?
I don't think Berlin was a thing yet, no.
Okay.
But I know this is in kind of northern Germany.
So there would have been probably just a lot of small towns.
Yeah.
Because Alaric was in the 900s, 800s.
Yeah.
So that would have been, the Roman Empire would have been still around generally, probably Eastern.
Yeah. Eastern, out in Constantinople.
So, there still was.
Germany, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. And this might have been Visigoths.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Descendants of the Visigoths.
I'm pretty sure that's probably the case, yeah.
Again, going back, it was time to pay the piper, but the townspeople refused to pay him what they originally offered him. And they said, some of the people have said that he was being blamed for bringing the rats and extorting the people.
Yeah. The con man.
He was a con man.
So it's possible he could have just done this going from town to town doing the same thing.
Is what the kind of story is. So kind of we're already starting to throw up red flags of allegory and stuff. So he's enraged by his betrayal. Again, this is a guy with a flute or a pipe. What was he going to do? Beat him with it? I don't know if he knew any type of fighting. I don't know.
Beat him with his pipe.
Yeah, I'm going to beat the whole town with my pipe. So what he did, he vowed revenge, and a few days later, he returned to Hamlin, but this time he played a different tune. The tune had the power to mesmerize the town's children. As he played, the children followed him out of town and into a cave in the nearby Koppelberg Hill, and Koppelberg Hill will come up again.
Okay.
The cave's entrance closed behind them, trapping the children inside. And then you're saying, like, why do the parents let this happen? Why don't they just say, stop? They're all at church. For some reason, they left their kids home. Don't know why. Why'd they all go to church and leave the kids home?
Yeah.
Strange.
Maybe to kill rats.
Oh, maybe that was like, Sunday smashing rats. Okay. So there's some in other versions of, like, people are saying, like, there's other endings of this story. You know, obviously in other versions, he made them walk into the Weser, which is a river.
Yeah.
So they said that's what he did with the rats.
Okay.
He made them walk into the river and die. This is the same thing. They made them all walk into the river, which would make most sense.
So he's punishing the town people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Some versions state the Piper returned the children after extorting payment, or that the children were only returned after the villagers paid several times the original payment in gold. So basically a cautionary tale of extortion.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody was the townspeople were devastated by the loss of their children, and they regretted cheating the Piper. There is a researcher by D.L. Ashliman called he did some research called the Pied Piper of Hamelin and related legends from other towns. So he kind of like went and looked at like other towns in Europe and kind of got the same like their angle on a story like this.
Okay.
And he suggests that theories that there were 3 children left behind, which is strange. One was lame and could not follow quickly enough.
Okay.
Again, quote, lame. I didn't use those words. The second was he was deaf and therefore I couldn't hear the music.
Oh.
The last was blind and therefore was unable to follow the group.
See no evil.
These 3 informed the villagers of what happened when they all came home from church.
Okay.
So that's how the story supposedly got out of what actually happened to the kids. Although I wouldn't, if you know, how are they communicating it? But anyway, so that's the basic folk story.
Okay.
Right? But there is some historical basis and references to this story.
I'm sorry, really quick. When you said there's a gentleman who found out about these, like he would look back.
Yeah, there's a lot of research done about this, but this guy looked back through research and looked for like through how this story since the 1200s. Yeah, the story kind of spread out and took on its own forms throughout history and through Europe.
I was going to ask if like there's other like common stories in other
That's
countries.
what he was doing.
Okay.
There's a lot of them actually. He has a website about it and I'll share it in the show notes that you can like go and he has like, here's all these different stories on where the parts of the country they came from and other countries they came from, like the towns and how and what he was looking at, I think, from what I understand, was he was looking at the commonality between them to kind of get like a common story.
Sure,
like maybe this is the true story of where it came from.
Narrow it
but
down.
In any case, in our history, literary history or whatever, this story of Hamlin is where it originated.
Okay.
They traced it back as far as they could. So some historians believe the story of the Pied Piper may have basis in actual historical events. It is possible there's actually an incident in Hamlin in which children disappeared or were all led away in one way or another. We're going to go over that. The problem with the story is that the details could have been exaggerated or mythologized over time. So we don't know over time what happened.
Yeah.
Like, again, the story, as with every story in our history, in human history, it changes.
Keeps getting passed down. Things start changing.
Yes. So it seems to be the earliest mention of this story was on a stained glass window placed in the church of Hamlin in 1300s.
Okay.
That's the first recording of the story, which the original story supposedly took place in 1284. 1300s. That's whenever they got this stained glass installed or whatever made. Okay. That depicts the story.
Okay.
Now, back in this time, it wasn't until like the 1450s, the invention of the printing press, Johann Gutenberg, when obviously, even going further back, Chinese had printing presses, but there's a movable type printing press. People really couldn't read. So
stained glasses were used as like depictions of what's
in the Bible and stuff. So that's how they told stories. So that's why it's important.
Interesting that would be in the church.
In a church window, The window is described in several accounts between 14th and 17th centuries, indicating that the windows were destroyed in the 1660s, however. So that there's records of it from through the 14th to the 17th centuries being destroyed in the 1660s. Okay. Because whatever happened to the church.
Right.
So, but it was on the church. Pretty good records that there was a story on a church in stained glass windows.
Okay.
Why would they? It's not a story from the Bible.
Right. Yeah. That's odd.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, the Hamlin town records apparently start with this event. The records of this event is the first thing in the town history. So the earliest written record is from the Town Chronicles and the entry from 1384.
So 100 years after.
Which states, it is 100 years since our children left. That's in the records of this, the surviving records of this town. And you could still go there and see these records. There's a museum there for the children of Hamlin.
I never thought the Pied Piper would actually have like
historical basis.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's just one of those like stories that get told to children as a cautionary tale,
like Ring the Ron Rosies. And stuff.
Yeah. It's just, but like having actual factual records of people saying like our children have disappeared.
Wait, it gets better.
There's a stained glass window like depicting the story in a church, which just seems really odd.
Like I said, you paid for the whole steep. I'm going to use the edge. Here we go. There's also an inscribed plaque on the stone facade of the so-called Pied Piper house, a private residence dating from 1602. Okay. Similar to the even earlier one etched on the building's window, which bears the explicit witness to the mystery. The inscription reads, AD 1284. On the 26th of June, the day of St. John and St. Paul, 130 children born in Hamlin were led out of town by the piper wearing multicolored clothes. After passing the cavalry near the Koppenberg, they disappeared forever. That was an inscription twice on the same building. Like it was originally on the window.
Yeah. When were they written? That those inscriptions written?
When was it written? That one specifically was from 1602.
1602. Okay.
So again, 300 some years after. Jeez. In any case, the rats were added to the story in a version from 1559. It's a record of when they started talking about rats being involved, and absent from earlier accounts. So the records of it, but again, the only records that we have are the window.
Okay.
And the town records.
Okay.
And this inscriptions. Or maybe they just didn't have enough time to put the rat story in or carve little rats in the window. I don't know. 14th century chorus book, Deacon Lude of Hamlin was reported in 1384 to have in his possession a chorus book containing a Latin verse giving an eyewitness account of the event. So it's 1384. It was a book, chorus book. 15th century Lüneburg manuscript, which is 1440 to 1450, was whenever it was kind of made, gives an early German account of the event. This manuscript is then reprinted in the Christmas edition of the Saturday Evening Post in 1955. So in the Post, this newspaper, on the back of the last tattered page of the dusty chronicle called The Golden Chain, written in Latin in 1370 by a monk named Heinrich of Herford, is written the following account. This is what it says in this account. Good. And this was printed in a 1955 Christmas edition of the Saturday Evening Post. Here follows a marvelous wonder, which transpired in the town of Hamlin in the diocese of Minden. In the year of our Lord, 1284, on the feast of St. John and St. Paul, a certain young man, 30 years of age, handsome and well-dressed, so that all who saw him admired him because of his appearance, crossed the bridges and entered the town by the west gate. He then began to play all through the town a silver pipe of the most magnificent sort. All the children who heard this pipe, and the number of 130, followed him to the east gate and out of town to the so-called execution place. There they proceeded to vanish, so that no trace of them could be found. The mothers of the children ran from town to town, but they found nothing. It is written, a voice was heard from on high, and a mother was bewailing her son. And as one accounts, the years according to the year of our Lord, or according to the first, second, or third year of the anniversary, so do the people in Hamlin reckon, the years after the departure of the spirits of their children. The report I found in an old book, and the mother of Dean Johann von Ludi saw the children depart. So this is supposedly record of this person.
Good.
Record of keeping record from someone who this had happened to. There's also something on the town gate. A portion of the town gate was dated from 1556. It's currently exhibited in the Hamlin Museum. And the stone is the oldest surviving sculpture evidence for the legend. So this is something that survived. It bears the following inscription. In the year 1556, 272 years after the magicians stole 130 children from the city, this gate was founded.
So 3 instances where it's mentioned that 130 kids disappeared.
Yeah, on public records, in public records, on public records, or something that was supposed to survive time. Dedication, years, hundreds of years after the kids left.
I could see that being a thing now, where like some, a mayor in some cities like trying to improve the economy, gets tourists coming in, like, this is the place where, the kids disappeared, but like 130 kids disappeared, but like these records are showing that this happened with a span of 100 years. Like the records are saying 100 years later, like this is where kids disappeared. So like, I feel like they're clearly not, it's not like a bragging thing where like for tourism, they're like, hey, come here.
Yep.
They're just like
was tourism a thing that's 1200s?
No.
Like
so clearly they're just like this, something like messed up here happened.
The beaches of Hamlin. No children are ever allowed here. So come on out. Yeah. If you hate children, come on down.
Come down here. Yeah, because what would be the point to say that if not just for saying something bad happened here, or like just like this is like the site of something.
Even keeping record of it 100 years after, 100 years after, no one's alive that remembered that.
No.
Especially this time in human history.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the story, and that's the historical basis. We have this folk tale, historical. It's tied to historical things that are recorded. There's a lot of theories, obviously, just like with our past episodes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of theories,
and no one's still really mentioning the rats at all. They're just saying a man came in and kids.
Again, 1500s is when the story of the rats popped in.
Okay.
But that's the first recorded. We don't know why the guy showed up. Now, there's a lot of interesting theories on why he was there, like what he actually was. So most people here are probably thinking, most people, the few people that listen to this, are probably thinking,
the guy's a pedophile.
Flags fly up. No, I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is probably like a plague, which is, we're going to go into that. It's one of a plague is one of the theories of 9 I have that are common theories.
Okay.
So first is theory 1 is the Children's Crusade.
All right.
And that was in the 13th century?
1212.
Okay.
I want to say.
Part of a wave of medieval crusades aims at winning back the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the whole Children's Crusade was? Because I have no clue.
So this is after, somewhere between the 4th and 5th Crusades.
Okay.
The First Crusade was the only successful one for the Crusaders, because they actually captured Jerusalem. Every one after that was a complete failure because they got taken back by the Muslims. Every one since then was a failure. But I do know it's kind of debated if there actually was children who were involved with this, how it went about. But I do know for a fact that like the Pope, someone did go see the Pope about doing this crusade. The Pope, as Pope Innocent third, I want to say, was like, no, you can't do this crusade. A crusade has to have the papal authority or the papal blessing.
Right. Pope third.
I think the papal blessing, a blessing by the Pope saying you can do this crusade. Otherwise, it's not considered a crusade in quotation marks. But I do know that whoever did do this crusade, there's either one group or two different groups. The idea wasn't, they weren't going to actually go and try and like physically fight people in Jerusalem. They wanted to convert the Muslims.
So it was a guy from France and a guy from Germany, but actually, yeah. So you're right. The one thing that I'll add is, it seems that the narrative about this, why they call it the Children's Crusade, and I forgot about this when we talked about it earlier, was that it was visions by a French boy and a German boy to intentionally, or for an intention to peacefully convert the Muslims.
Yeah.
So it was like these guys had a vision. They went and told some people, and that's how it got started.
I think another thing I remember reading, like it's called a Children's Crusade. They might not have to be children. I mean, they're young. There's definitely young people, I would imagine, but like they were probably thinking 14 maybe, but like Children's Crusade because they didn't have weapons maybe. Like it's like, oh, it's not really like You know,
and it's because these two kids came.
Yeah, right. And then another thing I saw was like a term was used in Latin, used to describe the crusade. Didn't actually mean children, but actually meant like a lower class or like poorer people.
Okay.
So something that wasn't taken
Makes
seriously because they weren't using weapons. They were going to convert.
Like a mission trip.
Yeah, like a missionary kind of thing. But ultimately, the whole thing failed.
Okay.
One of the kids, the boys, was like, when we get to the Mediterranean Sea, it'll part for us. And that didn't happen. Like there's supposed to be like a Red Sea parting like Moses did. And then a lot of them went back home or kidnapped and put into slavery. The basis of the theory is that some of the children, possibly from Hamlin, went on this crusade. And you said one of the kids was from Germany, like the kid that
they said Nicholas of Cologne.
Okay, right. And then one was Stephen from France.
Stephen of Cloyes, yeah. Okay. So the bands of children that were on this crusade just got like sold into slavery instead. Like I guess like they were just like, hey, there's kids walking around, let's just take them. And so that's one theory is that could have been part of this children's crusade. It could have been like a cautionary tale of like, don't let this fake prophet come in here or whatever.
They actually did get out to some body of water and like died.
Yeah. No one knows what happened after they left. Yeah. Theory 2 is a migration. So this is quote. This BBC article comes up a lot, which I linked in the show notes. That there's a guy. His name is Wibke, Wipke, Reimer, who's a project coordinator at the Hamlin Museum currently, and he's quoted directly in this BBC article. He says that. This person says that one of the leading current theories suggests the town's youth were part of a migration of Germans to Eastern Europe fueled by economic depression. Okay. So that it actually wasn't being stolen as much as like these kids who could have been not actually little kids, were like older kids. They were migrating to like find work. Okay. And the scenario, the project coordinator says the Pied Piper played the role of the so-called locator or recruiter for work. And so this person comes in responsible for organizing migrations to the east and were said to have colorful garments and played an instrument to attract attention of possible settlers. So he came into town playing stuff like to get people's attention and then said, hey, you should look at my clothes. I'm rich. Yeah. And so once you follow me because we're going to get you work to be rich like me. I was poor. Yeah. Some historians also believe that this immigration theory that they immigrated to Transylvania. This German linguist Jürgen Udolph theory is most accepted. He suggests the regions around Berlin as the most probable location and area that is now Eastern Germany. Reimer said that he backs up the theory by place name evidence. So, in fact, Udolph found the family names common in Hamlin at this time show up in surprising frequency in the areas of Eckermark and Prignitz near Berlin that he locates as the center of the migration. So he says like
family names just randomly just started popping up and
right after this time that were common back in Hamlin, that region. So that's like a migration theory. Okay. Number 3, theory 3.
But why would they keep saying like if it was a migration thing? Why would like the families not go with them? Why would they just saying that these
which
kids
is why
disappeared?
Yeah, which is what popped up to me. Like, why wouldn't they just go with it?
Like, you kind of see the Children's Crusade thing, like one of either the Nicholas or was Nicholas the one from? He's the one from Germany. I can see him coming through and be like, "Hey, I've had these visions. We're gonna go do great things, and in the Holy Land in Jerusalem, we're gonna convert Muslims." I can see that kind of being the case. Like they took our kids from us, right?
And then the migration theory doesn't hold. While it makes sense. Why would they be complaining of people taking their children? Right, yeah. Unless it was the village elders that were like, our children, our future of our town has been taken away from us. Oh. Because of migration. Okay. Like these people all left to find better jobs because of our depression. I
didn't even think of that.
Like that's what I would thought. Originally it was like, maybe these are, when they say there's children, like the future of their town.
Yeah, maybe there wasn't.
This colorful team came in, this colorful person came in and said, look at my riches. I have a beautiful flute, whatever, Pied Piper, the piper thing. Number 3, the rat catcher or plague allegory. So another theory suggests that the rat catcher who was hired to deal with the rat infestation in town that it evolved into this cautionary tale about the consequences of not honoring promises, or could be an allegory of the Black Death or other plagues that swept through Europe during the Middle Ages. So it could have been one of these plagues sweeping through as an allegory about that.
Okay. I think Black Death happened like 100 years after this.
And there could have been other ones, you know. Yeah. Again, people are still learning about this whole thing about medicine, you know, back then was very foreign.
Sure.
This is kind of an allegory for like they say honoring promises or the Black Death or other plagues. So like,
which is
it came in, killed all of our kids.
I do like the allegory idea of it though too, because wasn't like a lot of, oh man.
It's like the girl who cried or the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. What's the people that like that wrote like Hansel and Gretel, those brothers.
Oh yeah.
They wrote like
the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, they wrote a lot of really, really dark, messed up.
I think Pied Piper is actually one of their a story they told, but like not like it's just one of their stories they used, but they're still backing for it.
Yeah, okay, because those are all like super dark.
Yeah,
but
the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, the idea is they're supposed to be like these tales of cautionary tales.
Keep kids online. Yeah, basically scare kids not to disobey.
Yeah.
So it goes on to theory 4, which again is another moral allegory or religious allegory. Some interpretations of the story as a religious or moral allegory, with Piper representing a figure of divine justice or the test of a town's morality. So it's kind of like the Pied Piper comes in, takes your kids if you're not moral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you're not, again, another cautionary tale. It seems like a lot of allegories from this time.
They didn't go to church enough, so the guy came and took their kids.
Yes, you go to church enough.
Yeah, so that's why they put them.
The Pied Piper is Jesus coming in, just swiping your kids.
I mean, maybe that's why they put them on the stained glass window.
Which could be like, hey, you better come to church, or this guy's coming and keep your kids. Yeah. But also, and you go back to the plague allegory. That could be like, go to church, or you're gonna get the plague. Yeah, that's how we keep the plague away.
Yeah, you don't pray enough.
Right. Theory 5 was also reported in BBC article I mentioned, the midsummer pagan celebrations. So it was reported in this BBC article that this date, specific to June 26th, is the date of a pagan midsummer celebrations, often as a place of emphasis. The children led away to the hills of Copen.
June 26th, isn't that like the summer
solstice?
Solstice, yeah.
So this is like kind of lines up with it.
And they're not far. Like this is northern Germany, so they're not far from Copenhagen.
Yeah. So the date of pagan midsummer celebrations, because it's in that area. Tradition in some areas of Germany to celebrate midsummer by lighting bonfires in the hills. So that could have been, they may have been led away by pagan shamans to participate in these celebrations, going against God, going against the Christian religion. This led to them being massacred by Christians for believing in pagans. Following the pagan religions. Or
so the pagans didn't kill them,
or this led them away. The Pied Piper was this fires that were burning, the colorful thing that led them away from town and away from God.
Okay.
So that was like them turning to a pagan religion.
Gotcha.
Again, 130 kids. Just tell your kid that he's not going anywhere. So another allegory for religion.
Yeah.
We're gonna start 6 here, but what are you thinking so far? Bunch of hooey, bunch of hooey.
No, not necessarily, man. I do think I think maybe this guy might be real, or a version, like maybe not necessarily man, but it could have been a kid, or
a situation that happened.
Yeah, he might not even have had some kind of instrument, but like the music they might be referring to is like the way he was able to speak and like the lure kids or like attract kids or like spit out like things that they want to hear. So I think that could be something, because I've heard like
he's like hip hop, like it comes in.
It's like a musical tone to him, and like there's a luring attitude. That they say it's almost like listening to music, like
right, like it's that
enchanting thing, like that charisma.
They say that about music through growing up. I mean, for me, growing up, like in our generation, I think every generation has that. Like comic books were like killing our kids,
yeah, right.
Music, right. In the back in the 90s, hip hop music with Dre and that was killing our kids. That was going to kill our kids.
Whole, like, explicit lyrics thing on the CDs. That was a like Congress thing about that. But I'm saying like he might have even played an instrument. He might have just been like that charismatic. They called it like music. Like
So number 6, symbolic interpretation. The rats in the story could symbolize various negative aspects of society, infecting society. And
Like
the Piper's actions may represent a form of purification or a warning about the consequences of moral corruption. So you come in, you're trusting this guy who may not be Christian or may be Christian, coming in to clean up. He's going to promise moral cleansing, but then kill you or take you away. You know, like, what jumps to mind when I read this one is like the problems that we have in society with cults through recent history and previous history about cults and everything in society.
So he's morally cleansing the kids?
Like he comes in and says, in this case, it's interpretation of like the rats are the negative aspect of the town society, of the society.
Okay.
And the Piper comes in and says, I have a remedy to fix that for you by worshiping the pagan gods or worshiping, different, kind of taking them, Christian way is not the right way. This is the right way.
Gotcha.
Just another allegory for that. Theory 7 is cultural adaptations. The story has been adapted and retold in various cultures and languages, each with their own unique twists, interpretations. In some versions, the Piper is portrayed as a hero, while other he is a villain. It may have been that the story has been lost and that it could have been an allegory for various other things, but we don't know because it's been retold and told and written down so many times that it could have been the way that they word it in the historical basis. Who knows? Actually,
could have been skewed.
It could have been very skewed. Again, it could have been. So the theory is that it's just because it's been told so many times.
Right.
We actually have no idea, no way of knowing.
Yeah, sure, each person telling it might be like
it's been written down a few times, but who knows?
Different ways.
Even the records they have are hundreds of years after it happened, or 100 years after it happened at the earliest. So even that story told, your grandma tells you something, your mom tells you something, then you tell your kid something. It changes, even then, not in a negative way, maybe,
right,
or not in any, just because people forget crap. And also, they probably have an agenda. So this could have been, if it's on the church, that means the priest they're the ones talking about it.
Yeah.
So they're the ones retelling it and telling it every generation.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe it was some type of, as it changed, this priest said this and this priest said that, and they just kept on going. Because I mean, that stained glass
exaggerations done.
Stained glass was on there for 300 years or so, they say. Or not that, I mean, I could have been wrong. I'd have to go back and look at the math, but
I think,
right, so it was destroyed in 1660. So, number 8 is what you would think. This is my last one, actually. This is the last theory that it's actually, and this was backed up by a doctor who did research about this, which I'll go over in a second. A number of theories suggest that children died of some natural causes, such as disease, starvation, and the Piper was some symbolic figure of death. So this is different from the disease one in that they died. Maybe the town went through a bad couple of years without harvest.
All right.
And they died. The Pied Piper came in and took them because parents couldn't provide. Right. Yeah. And this idea this idea was of pathogen or some type of disease was backed up by research. And this again, this is kind of both for the disease and this tale of a symbolic figure of death. Research by J Dirckx called the Pied Piper of Hamelin. He's a medical historical interpretation in the American Journal of Dermatopology. Yes.
No clue what that is.
Right. No clue.
I'm
guessing dermatopology would be
something with the skin, right? Not necessarily dermatologist, but derma.
Right. Yeah. Derma. Again,
it's a mystery. No one knows.
There's no possible way for us to ever figure that out. Yep.
No.
So his research suggests that the children actually died in an outbreak of disease and were buried in a common grave, which would relate back to them being pulled into the hill, and gave a common grave at the site of the legendary disappearance in the mountains. The association with rats points to the rodent-borne infection, and the pied, molted coat of the Piper seems to be the indicated disease causing conspicuous macular lesions. So maybe they had colored lesions on their body. All the kids got this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe adults didn't get it. Kids got it by some rat-born thing.
Yeah.
They buried them all in a common grave.
Mass grave, yeah.
And that's why they're up in the hill in Koppenberg or whatever. That's all my theories. What do you think is the most likely? And I could go first if you'd like.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay, I'm gonna yield.
Shut your mouth. I don't know. For some reason, I really like the idea of an actual person coming into the town and who just like that colorful and that like charismatic that lure these kids away for what reason I don't know. Like it could have been like a Children's Crusade or
some reason they came.
Some
in.
reason, yeah. This person came in to help. Like there was a one theory like, hey, come with me. There's a better life this way.
Yeah, the migration story.
Yeah, or we're gonna go to the Holy Land and convert some Muslims. I like the idea, like not say like the idea, but something like this. I find that idea fascinating. If someone came in that kind of like fear came in and was like, hey, come with me.
Kind of led them all away, and it doesn't say how old the children were.
Right.
It seems to be the folklore. Obviously, is that they were young kids. We would think that.
Yeah, but what's our idea of young though these days? Like. Back then, like when you're 14, 15, you're probably like
married, have 30 kids.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, because you die when you're 32.
Yeah. The lifespan was
lower. So
very low. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Continue. But that last one you did, it's still kind of like an allegory kind of thing, which I like. I don't know if I'm using that word right, but where the Pied Piper was this disease that the kids got from the lesions from this rat infestation.
It would take into account the color, and
also take into account like them saying that we lost 130 kids,
and they all were taken to the same place.
Right? Yeah, that part too. Yes, yeah, they were like it's like a nice way of saying these kids are all dead.
Dermatopatology is a study of skin pathology and a subspecialty of dermatology and pathology.
Okay.
So
I would be curious though if there's any other kind of record of something like that happening with like that kind of like colorful legions.
Yeah, I think that's what he bases his research on. I didn't read his research because it was behind a paywall and it was long.
I hate that paywall.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why my research is behind a paywall.
Yeah, you're right. These people have to make money. Sorry.
I don't get money from it, but they're universities.
Yeah, the people have to make a living.
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, that.
I will say that
like a nice way to like, rather than saying, "Oh, these kids just died," we'll tell this nice story. But I'd be curious if that's actually what happened. Say that like that they got these legions from the rats. Why would they go to the extent of saying, I guess I did mention the rats, but that wasn't until much later, right? The rats were even mentioned
1500s. Yeah. But maybe they get this, they said it could, I mean, they could have been like, hey, I saw a rat and all kids got sick. It could have been that type of thing. But I think also it's important to realize like maybe the Pied Piper represents not death, but like a doctor. Like we called this guy from this other town.
Okay.
He came in, but they all died. Or we tried to get him to save our kids, but they couldn't.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Like he couldn't get rid of the rats, as in like the lesions. We tried to pay him to help us and he couldn't, but they all died because he said, we got to go bury these kids so we don't get sick or the other kids don't get sick. So he was still taking their kids away from them. And it obviously was, 100 years later, 272
something significant clearly happened
to
kids.
It was a mark on that town.
Very much so.
So there was something that happened.
They're like commemorating it with like the stained glass window.
On the church?
In the church, yep.
The town gate, which is on display in Hamlin right now. You can go see. And with their town records starting 100 years after it. I mean, when I say starting, maybe it was the only one that survived, but I will say I'm on this website by, as I mentioned, D.L. Ashliman that did the research. It's called Pied Piper of Hamelin and Related Legends from Other Towns. And on this, there's 31 different legends related to the story that he has specifically. Most of them are in England. So there's one from Syria. There's some of them just have authors, some Austria, England, Germany. There is the Grimm's Brothers Grimm, it looks like. Children of Hamlin. So that's like even named that. The Brothers Grimm even name it the Children of Hamelin.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So like there are specific countries on here: Italy, Austria, France, Denmark, Ireland, Iceland, Syria. It looks like, and then the rest of them are all Northern Ireland. One of them called the Children's Pilgrimage, the Devil likeness of the Pied Piper. So there is a lot of folk stories about this incident. Seems like around the world, but it all kind of started with Hamlin.
Yeah. So that could be interesting because it could just be like a children's story that these people, that the kids are told for one reason or another, but doesn't mean it didn't actually, something like that didn't actually happen in one form or another in Hamlin. Like maybe it was just like death came in, or it could be also the fact that a similar thing happened to children in other parts of, these other countries, like a death, some kind of like rat infested disease happened and kids die from it because they might have been more susceptible to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we see that now with
because I'm sure like Nolly's, I'm not saying, I don't want to paint this picture of like, it's medieval Europe, but paint a picture of like everyone's unhealthy and like sickly because they're malnourished. But like, I think a lot of people were.
I want to go back to our last episode, Jack the Ripper. And we mentioned in there, they still weren't smart enough in the 1800s to put poop underground. And this is still the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a story about...
the guy had an outhouse.
Sure, but it's still going in the ground.
Not everyone had a house, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, he was the only one using it, right?
Yeah.
There was a story about early scientists, and this was it was in France. It was still like whenever, the explosion of science and everything that happened after Johann Gutenberg and the printing press and the Renaissance and everything. And this guy was the young scientist. He figured out like where these breakouts of cholera were in the city. I think it was France. It might have been England or France. I'm pretty sure it was France. But anyway, he found out that like he was really the first to start looking at it scientifically as like it was in the poor areas, and he was the one that actually got a map and said, okay, where's the cholera happening? And he started plotting on a map.
Where's the poop?
He started plotting on the map because everybody was just pooping. Like, everything was just dumped in the streets, right? And it was going into the river, but it was generally flowing in the streets. And so he was like the one who was like looking at all these maps, and he's like, he was able to figure out that the more dots like started clustering around one area. And he's like, okay, here's where it's like, we can see if we look at it from like, here's the amount like people that are saying they have cholera that we found it. And he found that in the center of that dot was an orphanage. And an orphanage. No, the orphanage was throwing the poop in the street, and the diapers were clogging the drain. And that's how it was backing up and spreading cholera.
Jeez.
And that's what he figured. He's like, hey, look, this sewer that you have, maybe we should put this stuff on the ground, man.
These poor kids don't have enough. Now they're blamed for cholera.
Yeah. So, but it's just an idea of like.
That's interesting.
It's 1200s. It's not like, I mean, that was probably, I think it was 17 or 18. I think it was the 1700s. And because even after that, they started being like, we should put our sewers underground. We should make sewers. And like, even in America, they were like, there was some guys that were hired to, hey, how can these towns are already established, how can we put sewers under them? And they were like, the federal government at the time hired them to be like, go to the major cities and figure out how to put their poop underground.
I know we talk about, I don't know if during, like I said, again, we're kind of deviating here, but we're talking about the Victorian area in the last episode, Jack the Ripper. I think they might have had some form of plumbing. I think
it was just the
more wealthier areas, I think, might have had it. But I think it was also still being pumped back into the river. 1800s
to 1900s when they started figuring out stuff should go underground.
Yeah. But during this time, we're going to go back, but during this time, 1200s, they're not doing that.
Right. And again, even up until 1800s, they were still just figuring that out.
Right.
Because in the early 1900s when they started doing it in America.
But I do think, like, again, this is not, I'm not trying to paint a terrible picture or gross exaggeration of the Middle Ages during this time, but I do think, at least in like some of these smaller towns, I don't know how big of a town as Hamlin was at the time, but it could possibly be the fact that they're not, these kids could be malnourished. Maybe why some of these kids had died. Like they might have had a bad harvest. If this is like a farming community which I think a lot of these places were during that time, but they could be malnourished and like just didn't survive a winter or something like that.
Right. And the Pied Piper could have been the winter coming in and taking them.
Sure.
Or starvation. Like it could have been an allegory for anything.
Right. Yeah.
And if you look at pictures of Hamlin, like it looks like the traditional German town.
Oh, does it? Okay.
It has like that old, and they said that's
very cool.
It's like still kind of the same design. And,
Okay.
You know, so I don't think a lot has changed
Okay.
over the last couple hundred years, but I don't know if it would look like that in the 1200s, obviously. So it was probably a small, it looks like even now it's still a small town, but even then it was probably a small, very small farming community. Okay. 130 kids in a town. I mean, that's not that many kids when you think about a town.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to pump out kids too to help
farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the stories because I, knew of the Pied Piper, but I believe that these kids actually did die, which isn't sad, but
I would like to think
how they died,
I would like to think it's I would love to think that it's a guy came in, like you said.
Yeah.
Dressed up real nice looking and took the kids away.
Yeah.
Like
doing what I don't know, but like
the religion seems to be the big driving factor through all these stories in this time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a lot of the folk stories were about honoring God and following God and being immoral and stuff.
Yeah.
So this kind of fits in with that. I don't know if
drives me nuts to like, and also makes me think that he wasn't real because no one knows where the hell he came from.
Right.
Unless he's going across Europe doing this.
But is there records of travelers anywhere? I mean, is there records for that type of stuff? Especially back then? I mean, 100 years is whenever they had the first record.
Yeah. In this town. Like, yeah.
For this town.
Right. Yeah.
So was this, I mean, they said there was reports that migration was a thing, that people were going around getting others to move. And this was the guy that the project coordinator at the museum.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
That this guy was known, or that there was things called locators or recruiters that were trying to find workers to come back and move, to immigrate to these areas to work.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Could have been mining. It could have been whatever.
Yeah.
There was at this time migration of Germans to Eastern Europe because of a depression going on in Germany at this time. So it could have been the kids, as in the younger adults, leaving the town.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, I would love to think that was it. That these kids didn't die. Little kids didn't die.
Yeah.
I would love to think that it's just, more than likely it's probably a plague. Just like the bubonic plague.
But if the kids did die and they were buried, wouldn't there be a mass grave around there somewhere that someone would have came across?
800 years later? I don't know. I mean, did they even look? Did they actually look? I mean, maybe.
It might not even been marked. I would imagine they'd marked it if they were like commenting on this in the
I guess if something I guess if something survived from that time, if like the house survived and the gate survived from the 1500s.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Maybe.
What do you think?
I want to think like, first, going back to what you just said, if it's a mass grave from a plague, would they even mark it? Or did they just burn the kids? Did this doctor come in, take the kids and burn them up on the hill?
I keep thinking there's possibly might have been a doctor who's like, we gotta get these kids out of here.
Yeah, did he go, we gotta get the bodies out of here before everybody's sick. Yeah. And he just burned them on the hill, and that was like so traumatizing. And that's why there's no grave, because they're all burned.
Right. We
burned them because of health reasons. I personally, going back to what you just asked, I think it was, if I had to put money on it, I would say it was probably some type of
disease.
Plague.
Yeah.
But can't rule out religion being the allegory for everything, that this was told to kids.
Yeah.
But losing 100,
just like a morality kind of thing.
But having records saying lost 130 kids.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
It's been 100 years since we lost our kids.
That's what keeps sticking on me. Like, they're keeping records of this,
and they're saying records saying that we lost our kids.
Yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah, AD 1284 on the 26th of June, giving specific days, St. John and St. Paul Day. 130 kids born in Hamlin were led out of town by the piper wearing multicolored clothes. After passing the Calvary near the Koppenberg, they just disappeared forever. That was the inscription on the plaque on the facade of the so-called Pied Piper house, dating from 1602. Again, the reports chronicles from that 1384, which is 100 years. It's been 100 years since we lost our children. Has the children left? So there
Did it
is.
say since we lost our children, or just the children left?
It's 100 years since our children left.
Left. Oh.
There you go. So there's like two different. The next one, the one after that though, on the facade said there were 130 children born in Hamlin were led out of town by the piper wearing multicolored clothes.
Okay.
They were led out of town. After passing the cavalry near the Koppenberg, they disappeared forever. So it doesn't really, it's like almost itself is only like some weird allegory or like riddle. Why couldn't they just say, hey, these people were murdered or these people died of a disease? Like there's no record of like,
right.
You took the time to write 100 years since our children left, but you don't say why they left or how they left or.
Maybe it's kind of like a loving memory kind of thing. A loving memory lost too soon. Like a lot of people say that now. Like they wouldn't be like, died horribly. You like when people, you see that on like someone's back of the car, loving memory of so-and-so, the years like, they're born, but like lost
say
too
how they
soon.
lost.
Yeah.
100 years after.
Yeah, but yeah, that's.
I mean, and maybe it's a combination of all these things. Maybe it's a disease that came in, which is also then taught as an allegory of like keeping ourselves clean because the devil came in here and got us sick, So maybe it was like, I would think, if I had to guess, I would say that it was a disease and it was used as an allegory.
Okay.
If I want to go back and retract and
I
say
like that. I like that.
I would love for it to be an actual person, like you said, that came in and like murdered him. Like, the actual folk tour. I wish that I would hope that would be the story.
Yeah.
Not that I want to see kids die.
Right.
But like that would be that. If this was a true story, I want it to be the exact way it's written as a folk story.
But it like
folklore.
Again, you go back to like a man that was like that came in that he might not have been nicely dressed or actually played music, but
his charisma was
his charisma. Maybe the parents are saying that he was this like unusually dressed man who played this magical music, lured their kid away because like they let it happen. Mm-hmm. Like they let these kids
like a cult.
Join a crusade or join a cult or get taken away or join pagans or something like that. Like they let it happen. But I can't imagine like they would let community would let 130 kids just be like, all right, see you later, bye.
Right, which I think
unless they weren't actually kids. They were like
young adults.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the pagan, could it be the pagans come in and say, I don't think. I preface by saying preface this by saying if the pagans came in and took them, led them away as like a cult type of thing. Again, it would just be used as an allegory.
Yeah.
But why would 130 kids, unless they were like, hey, here's a bunch of candy, which I don't know what candy was back
strudels.
then. Yeah. Here's some like
here's
whatever
some food.
Here's anything more than corn, wheat. Like I don't know what they had back then.
I don't know what you guys are raising over here.
I'm not sure what kind of stuff they had back then. But what would lead 130 kids away from their parents?
Yeah.
Maybe the kids were happy to get rid of them.
By saying they're pagan, that doesn't mean it's a cult, but
no, pagan as in like the following of the pagan religions.
Yeah.
The midsummer celebration stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a party and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna go party up in the hills. Maybe that's where the drinking in the woods came from. That the kids the Boone's Farm thing.
Boone's Farm.
I don't know. It is again just like any other mystery we've talked about on the show.
Another mystery.
It could be everything.
No. It could be all of it.
Again,
none of it.
The common themes of the show. We can't say any words or any names.
Yeah.
Terrible at it.
Pronunciations.
Yes. Can't even say the word pronunciation. And we have no answers.
No.
We make it worse because we can more confuse it. We made it worse.
There are so many options.
We just keep
we confuse ourselves even further.
And we keep up perpetuating the theories.
Yeah.
By offering no clues on the answers.
That's good. Perpetuate. I like it. Yeah.
Can say that word. Can't say any name from Russia or any other country, but
you say perpetuating.
Yes. So, thank you all for being here, watching or listening. However, you're observing us on this fight night. If we go back to the beginning of the show, we have socials. Please contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads @MysteriousPals. on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called, at mysterious_pals. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe if you enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Don't subscribe just because we're asking you.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you liked it.
Please comment or have any suggestions. Please pass some suggestions along.
Yes, if you want suggestions for stories, the more obscure the better. Please email us or get us at one of the social media contacts we just mentioned, or they're all in the down below in the video or in the podcast feed or in the show notes. If you're listening to a podcast feed, please give us a follow. Again, it helps us out. You can rate us, I guess, on these podcast feeds as well. Rate us or review us. Stars. It really helps us out. Unless you give us no stars or 1 star, then you're really screwing us over here.
And we put our sources in the show notes, by the way. And they probably
as
do
always,
a lot better job of explaining these things than we probably will.
Yes, I would suggest going to check out the research by, and I'm going to mention his name again, D.L. Ashliman. It's a link. The link is it goes directly to a old school GeoCities website. Like it's just an old school website that's just it's a hypertext website.
That's what I came across when I was doing the Jack the Ripper on
Yes.
casebook.org.
But the great thing about it is all of the research he did about all these different stories throughout Europe and how they're related. And it's really awesome. You can read them, like the ones they were talking about in Syria and Austria and Italy, and like all these different common themes of this person coming and taking the kids away.
Let's quickly put it all together.
Yes. And last thing here, the music, intro, outro music by a band called Bethlehem.
Mm-hmm.
The link is in the show notes. It's also in if you're on YouTube, it's below in the description.
Yep.
Jordan, thank you for being here this week.
Thank you.
I can't wait till next week. What's on the agenda?
It's a mystery.
Great.
No one knows.
Great. As always, stay mysterious, my pals. We'll see you next time.
Bye.